Hey, what's up you guys, it's Connor, and today we're going to be talking about Gardens of the Moon by Steven Erikson. Gardens of the Moon is the first book in the Malazan Book of the Fallen series, which is set in a world that has two different authors that write about it. So Erikson writes about it, and then there's a guy named Iselmont, I don't know how to pronounce his name. He also has a series that is set in the same world, and the events affect each other, so it's kind of an enormous series that has like 16 books or something. This book follows a bunch of different characters that are all surrounded by this huge war that's going on, and they all have different places in this world, and they all have different jobs and different backgrounds, and yeah, it's just a lot of different characters have a lot of different things going on, so it's hard to explain every single thing. But that's just kind of the gist, is it's a huge epic fantasy series following a war with a bunch of different characters. As usual, I'm just going to go through my pros and cons list that I made while reading it, and then give you my rating. The first thing that I liked was the fact that Erikson puts in a lot of foreshadowing, and you don't pick up on everything. I read this book with a bunch of booktubers, and specifically I read it with Michael from Bitten by a Radioactive Book because this is his favorite series, and he was able to point out a lot of things that I wouldn't have picked up on if I was reading the book by myself, so that was really cool to be like, oh, and he would have us refer back to different pages that had different foreshadowing. It was amazing. It was so good. They have really obvious foreshadowing, so first-time readers will definitely get that stuff, but there's also just small little details that you wouldn't pick up on, and yeah, so this book has like an incredible rereadability level, if that makes sense. The next thing that I really liked was the variety of characters. There's a lot of different characters, different shapes, like there's overweight characters, there's skinny characters, there's men, there's women, there's magic users, there's straight up soldiers, there's thieves, there's everything. There's a lot of different things going on, and there's not any stereotype to say that girls can't do one thing or another, so there's a lot of girl warriors, there's girl mages, there's, yeah, it doesn't have any gender roles and that sort of thing, so I really enjoyed those aspects of the book. I thought it was really cool that this world has a ton of history. Erikson and the other writer used to play a game in this world, I think, and so there's so much stuff that they have already decided about the world, so there's like tons and tons of history that you get to learn here and there while you're reading it, and I just can't wait to continue the series and learn more about it. Something that was super necessary for this book was the glossary that was in the back. I referred to the glossary like 100 times. I needed it. It does a really good job of helping you keep track of different characters and their roles in the world and what alliances they have and that kind of stuff. Yeah, the glossary is very much needed. I like the fact that we're mainly in two different places. There's two different cities that we are pretty much reading about, and you get some real in-depth description of these cities, and you can picture the cities and the streets and everything that's happening. I really liked that. I think that sometimes a lot of epic fantasies are these journeys and you just kind of fly through this landscape and everything, and that's fine, but I really thought that this was refreshing and how that you're kind of in these cities, and I just really liked that. The last thing that I'll talk about that I thought was awesome was the magic system. I have no idea what's going on with it. It's just... So there are these mages, and mages all use these things called warrens, and warrens are just so confusing. You don't have a definition for what they are, and so I think in the future books you start to grasp more about the magic system, but a lot of stuff isn't explained in this book, but I still thought it was really cool and interesting. On to the cons. So the first thing that I guess would be a con is that you kind of need people to talk about this book with. It's hard to read it by yourself because there's just so much stuff going on, and I didn't really have a hard time understanding anything, but it was just a lot better to have people explaining certain things and embellishing on certain aspects of the world and helping me just fully grasp it. I would have been fine by myself, but the learning curve is pretty high, and the fact that you just need someone else to read it with you or tell you about some stuff is, I guess, a con for me. If you're planning on reading this book, Tor did a read-along with it, so I think all that stuff is still on their website. So if you don't have anyone that is willing to just tell you stuff, you can look on that website and it will help you understand everything. The second thing I didn't really like is that Erikson is not good at romances, so any type of romance that happens in this book, I didn't like it. I thought it was kind of awkward and didn't really make any sense, so I just didn't really like any type of romance. It wasn't good. And the last thing that I didn't really like is that sometimes Erikson's battle scenes can get super all over the place and cluttered, and you don't really know what's going on. So I didn't really like how Erikson was doing his battle scenes. I think some of them were okay. I knew what was happening, those were fine, but when I didn't know what was going on, it was just kind of like, why am I reading this? So overall, I gave this book a 4 stars out of 5 stars. I think if I reread this book in the future, it'll bump it up, but for a first time read of this book, it's definitely 4 stars for me. I enjoyed it a lot, but there were some things that just held me back, like the battle scenes and the romance, and some stuff just kind of pushed me out of the story at parts, so I just think it's a 4-star book for me right now. I will definitely be continuing along with the series, however, and I ordered the next 2 books, but the first book came and it was the wrong thing. It like was missing a dust jacket, even though the description said it had a dust jacket, so I am sending it back and buying a new copy. So I'll definitely be continuing with the series. I'm just not sure when that will be. So that's my review for Gardens of the Moon by Steven Erikson. If you liked it, please give me a big thumbs up, and if you have any questions about my reading experience on it, leave those down below, or if you've read it, let me know what you thought, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye!